A warning now that this next story could be unsettling for some. More than a year ago, a UPS worker from Auburn dropped everything and traveled overseas to Ukraine.
He rescued hundreds of civilians on the front lines and became a hero in the city of Bakhmut. Our James Corrigan sat down with him now that he's come home.
The journey of life is best traveled with eyes facing forward. But like a shadow, the past is never far behind.
There's brokenness in the violence that we smash on the hearts and lives and homes of each other. And there's a lot of brokenness within me as well.
Brad Hendrickson chose to run directly into a broken world. His journey began last February when he was working for UPS in Auburn and serving in the Maine National Guard. He'd been called into duty at Maine Medical Center during a COVID surge when the news broke that Russia had invaded Ukraine.
There was a lot of just shock, anger. When I see examples of that kind of grief and suffering and scrambling to save one another, the combination of all of that stirred in me just a sense of like, man, I got to go help.
I'm in Ukraine right now.
And so he did, dropping everything and going on his own to Ukraine with no sense of what his role would be. After beginning in the city of Lysychansk in eastern Ukraine, Brad made his way to Bakhmut.
Bakhmut became famous over time in a certain kind of horrible way, but none of us would have known that that was kind of what was in store for that particular town. As we went into the new year, it just continued to be annihilated.
Through creating a Facebook group, Brad raised enough money to buy a van to help deliver supplies. But as Bakhmut saw some of the heaviest fighting in the war, he began to help deliver people to safety. And he didn't do it alone.
There's a British guy named Dave. He lost an eye from Russians shooting up the vehicle he was driving. We'd have a Ukrainian tank on one side lobbing shells, and they would fly up and land maybe a block, 2 blocks away. And he and I are carrying invalid, elderly babushkas on a litter up into the back of my Toyota and loading up and getting out.
The number of rescues grew and grew, as did the close calls, including one night, Thanksgiving night of last year, where he was called deep into the front lines to make his most daring rescue.
Probably 500-600 meters away from Russians firing on us. The door opens, the man's wife.
What?
Okay. Artillery shell had slammed into the wall of their home. They were in bed, and her husband was bleeding badly, and there's just nothing that could be done. I was kind of dragging him down. One way or another, we made it down the stairs and up into the back of this Toyota, and then back we go out, hoping that it works out, hoping that our vehicle doesn't get hit like so many others.
Brad evaded the danger and brought the man to the hospital, where he pulled through. His rescues grew his reputation, which in turn drew attention and a nickname, Bakhmut Brad. But to him, the true heroes are the people of Ukraine who accepted a stranger into their broken world out of their own kindness.
Folks with so little still insisted on sharing their own borscht or whatever else that they were having, and they would not take no for an answer in sharing what little they had with us, with me. In opening their homes, there was a lot of grief at their community accepting that they could no longer be there. There was a lot of grief at the losses of their neighbors, of their property, of their beautiful, town and city streets that were just normal like any of our towns.
Striking images of war captured by an Auburn native, and great reporting from our James Corrigan there as well. Coming up tonight at 11 o'clock, you're going to see the second part of our interview with Bakhmut Brad, including his current living situation.